Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
There it is.
There it is.
And today we wanted to talk about the newly released Battlescroll.
It just dropped.
So every quarter, the Games Workshop does a balance update to try to bring the armies a little bit more in line with each other.
Yeah.
I think overall, they do. I don't know if they get it perfect. I don't know that it's possible to get it perfect, but they do. They try. And I think they've tried some things that are pretty good. And they've moved away from the whole, remember when you got like bonus points for playing, like the bad armies got bonus points and stuff?
Yeah.
That was dumb. So I'm glad that they're moving more into substantive things. But this most recent one is pretty interesting. And so there's a couple things that change for the game as a whole. A couple things that sort of interesting changes for a couple of armies. And then there's the points. So first, the big changes. First one, coherency. Drake, what's coherency?
Your lads gotta stick together.
So basically what he's saying is if you have 6 or more models, then each model has to be within an inch of 2 friends. And that usually means that you have to line them up in ranks, right? They have to be 2 deep. They can't be in one line because the bases aren't big enough to allow that to happen most of the time. But for 5 models or less, they only have to be within an inch of 1 guy, right? So 5 models, you get the good coherency. You can just be in one rank. You can be in one line of guys. Once you go above 5, though, and then the reason this can be a problem is there's a number of units, not a lot, but a good amount actually of units that you take in 3s.
Trolls.
Trolls you take in 3s. Kroxigor you take in 3s. Gorgruntas you take in 3s. Lots of. I think there's some clan, rat ogres or something that you take in 3s. Anyway, it's not every unit. I think coming in 5s is probably the most common, but there's enough. There's enough, and so this new Battlescroll changed that so that the small coherency, the single line, is for 6 or fewer models now. What do you think of that change?
I think that's gonna be better than 5.
I think so too. I get that when the problem in 2.0 was that you'd have a group of like 20 stabos or whatever, and then you do like one conga line out, and so you zip off half the board, and it's like, come on, is that really how they're gonna fight in one little dancing line? Like they're all doing a conga together? It's ridiculous. And so they changed the rule to force you to rank up, which I think overall is good.
Yeah.
But I like 6 better than 5 because for units that go in 5s, it's going to be the same, right? You're either at 5 or you rank them up to 10. It's fine. It's great. But for the units that are 3, which is not, it would be okay if it was like, maybe there was 1 unit here or there that did it, but there's
a good number.
There's a lot. Oh, Crypt Flayers with Flesh Eater and Soul Blight. Those guys, Vargeists. Those are in 3s. So it's a minority, but it's a significant minority. And so this allows them to rank up once and not feel like you have to have 3 guys behind 3 guys. Annihilators.
Oh yeah.
Also 3s.
I used to have them in Goklargle was a 6.
Yeah, it's when you only have 6 guys, it doesn't look great to have like one hiding behind the other one, right? It doesn't look like there's enough there to rank them up. And it ends up looking a little weird on the table. Or for some of the cavalry stuff like Gorgruntas, you end up in these weird, or Direwolves. Although Direwolves come in 5, so it's not as big a deal. But you end up with these weird formations where it's like there's one guy sort of across the back so he can be within an inch of each of the other guys. It just looks dumb. So bringing it up to 6, I don't think has that big of an impact rules-wise, but I think it's going to make the game look better.
Yeah.
I think things are just going to look better. You know who else is going to benefit from it? Is Gluttons, right? Because they come in packs of 6. So that 6-pack, that unreinforced one, they don't have to rank up.
Yay.
That's cool. Okay. The other one that's a big change for the whole game, it's going to affect every army, is the new Lookout Sir rule. So it starts the same as anything else, right? If you're within a unit that has 3 models, they can yell, "Look out, sir," and you're -1 to be shot, right? But little little added bonus, as long as you don't have a mount, as long as the hero that's being shot at doesn't have a mount, they cannot be targeted at all unless the shooting unit is within 12 inches. So they've got to get pretty close to you to kill your little heroes. And that's good because the game has a lot of little foot hero guys that all they really do is buff your other units, right? They're not super durable, they're not super strong, they're not super anything. But if they just get shut off the table, you're like, oh, well, there with that 100 points. What now? And my army is less effective. Why did I even bring that guy? So I think that's a good change. It doesn't apply to something on a mount. So if you have a mount, you can still be shot. You'll still get the -1. And it also still doesn't apply to anything with over 9 wounds. So if you have 10 wounds or more, people can yell, look out all day long. You're not ducking anywhere. You're too big to duck. What do you think of that one?
That one seems a little overstrong.
Really?
Yeah, because if you have a little guy, maybe the off chance you need to kill him, and the only way you could kill him is with shooting, and you cannot possibly get within 12 for whatever reason, you just lost the game.
Well, I think that's a lot of ifs.
I know.
That's a lot of ifs. Like,
I'm just saying.
I can't get in within 12, and I have to kill him. And that's a pretty niche scenario. I don't know if we'll see that a lot. And besides, if that's the case, you could always smash into that front line that's keeping him 12 inches away, kill those guys off, and on your next turn, bring your guys in and shoot them. So I actually think it's pretty good. I like it. 40K did this thing with detachments where you could sort of assign a hero, put the hero in with a unit, and then when the unit is shot, you could just take wounds off the dudes and not your hero. So your hero sticks around. I think that's a cool way to do it too. Will 4.0 look like that?
Possibly.
Possibly. Who knows, right? They do tend to borrow from each other a little bit. But for now, without that sort of major overhaul, I like this change. I like the fact that your small heroes, your little footy guys, can get a little bit of protection from shooting. Yeah. Okay. So after that, they changed a bunch of the rules inside a bunch of armies. And I wanted to highlight 3 that I think are going to be pretty big changes. The first is Soul Blight. So they made 2 changes here. One, zombies only kick back mortals if they die within 3 inches of the attacking unit. So they have to be in combat. You can't have your guys in the back super mortaling the guys that are super far up.
Flinging their arms.
Right. And then when the Soul Blight player brings guys back, if he brings them back in the opponent turn, they have to be 9 inches away instead of 3 inches.
And doesn't it natively have to be a 4-up instead of a 3-up?
It doesn't. I thought that at first, but I reread it, and no, you still get the +1 bonus. You can still do 3-up on your turn. So what do you think of those 2? Do the zombie one first. What do you think of the zombie one?
The zombie one does seem to be really good because what could happen is you keep on getting punched from the back by zombies, and then every Soul Blight turn, more zombies, more zombies, more zombies.
Yeah, I think the zombies are still pretty powerful.
Oh yeah.
I think they're still, even with this change, they're still pretty strong. It is a reduction in power, but one thing that I think opens it up is, especially if they're not able to pile, or if they've already piled or whatever, you can come in on the side and tag just a couple of zombies with your big guys, and then you get 1,000,000 hits, and there's only a few of them that can bounce mortals back onto you, right? Whereas before, you bring anything in on any portion of them, and the guys in the back are just going to mortal you to death, right?
Yes.
That's the trick with the zombies, is you bring in your Annihilators or your Croxagore or your whatever, and they just let you kill yourself, right? You just blow your own self up. So I think that will be lessened to a degree, but frankly, I'm not sure if that's a big enough change. I think that zombies still, I'm still bringing zombies. I don't see that change and think, they're worthless now. I'm never bringing zombies. I'm still bringing zombies. They still seem great. I think that zombies are pretty good. But I do think what I like is that they didn't just say, all right, zombies are 200 points now. That would have been cool. I like that they changed the War Scroll. I like that. And I hope to see them continue doing that through balance updates, where they actually go in and say, all right, this is overtuned a little bit, and it's just better for the game to change this ability rather than, no, it's more points. What do you think of the resing?
The resing, that does seem better. It should be 9 inches out on a normal basis. But at least they're 9 inches out on your turn. But still, that's a lot. That's still not. It's going to shut them down more, but they're still gonna be crazy.
Yeah, so I agree. I think this change is almost worthless. So the one thing it does do is it shuts down the worst offenders. Like where it's your turn, like I'm Soul Blight. It's your turn, and at the end of the movement phase, you're getting ready to charge, and you've got maybe like a 6 or 7 inch charge, and I go, boop, dire wolves, right in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can be within 3 inches or just outside of 3, right? And now when you charge, you have to charge my dire wolves. You can't charge anything else.
Unless
right?
you get a long charge.
And have go all the way around them.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. So it stops those kind of abuses where a lucky roll really just changes the landscape. And it comes at a really bad time too, because you've already moved and then they show up, right? It's not, so you're like, you've already committed and then this blockade comes in your way. So it does stop that. But I think the problem, if it is a problem, the problem with Soul Blight is that it's so easy for them to get models back.
Yeah.
And they can get them back basically anywhere on the board because they have 4 different grave sites. And their summonable models that they can get back, particularly zombies and to a lesser extent skeletons, they're really good.
Yeah.
They're getting back quality models. It's not like when you get back a bunch of Stabbas or a bunch of Hobgrots or something, and you're like, okay, well, these guys can block 1 charge and die, I guess.
The stuff is good for contesting objectives, though.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, but
yeah.
I would 100% rather have zombies than Stabbas. If I had a rule that said get back either 20 zombies or 20 Stabbas, I'm picking zombies every single time. I would never even enter my mind to get Stabbas. So I think overall, Soul Blight got off with a pretty light touch. I think both of these abilities could be tuned even further, especially the Endless Legions where stuff comes back. Gosh, man, I could see the die roll going up to like a 5-up maybe. So it's 4-up, 5-up. I could see you only being able to res
1/4 of the models.
Maybe 1 unit per battle round. So you can't res 2. So if you fail the first battle round, the first, the top of the round roll, then you can do the bottom of the round roll. But if you exceed the top of the round, then you don't get even to roll in the bottom. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they could do. I don't know that any of those are perfect. But I could still see Soul Blight getting some additional nerfs because seems like a pretty light touch. Seems like they didn't get hit as hard as they probably needed to.
Yeah.
You feel the same, or do you think that's enough for them?
I feel like there are a million things we can tone down.
Yeah, I could see. And I know the Neferata Legion of Blood build has been pretty oppressive in a lot of tournaments. And they didn't really touch that at all, hardly. Except with points. They did increase points, so there is that. Okay, and then the next one I wanted to talk about, and this one's pretty sad for me. This one hurts my heart a little bit. They changed the Slann and Lord Croak. So in Seraphon, both Lord Croak and the Slann have an ability where they can cast their spells through a Skink Oracle. So Lord Croak's great spell, what's Celestial Deliverance? Is that what it is? Is super good, but it has like a 12-inch range.
Yeah.
So it's not super good. It turns out it's pretty bad. Because if something's within 12 of Lord Croak, you're sweating bullets already. That's already danger close. But if he can do it through his Trog, then you've got something that can be out and about, has a good amount of survivability. It's not huge. It's still on a 4-up save, but it's got the D3 healing and everything, right? So it's better. And it's a monster, so it's got a lot of wounds. And then it's out in the thick of things, and you can shoot your Celestial Deliverance through it, right? And I think that's basically what makes Croak in particular, and to a lesser extent the Slan, worth taking.
Yeah.
I want to take them because I can get those spells that have short ranges or that are difficult through the Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. That has been changed to once per phase. So I think the Slan gets 3 casts and Croak gets 4.
Yep.
Only one is going through the Oracle. Man, is that disappointing.
I have a fix. Just bring 4 oracles.
No, Croak can only send 1 through an Oracle. He can't send 1 per Oracle. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think that's really going to hurt Seraphon, or at least the Starborn version of Seraphon, because, and in particular, I think it's going to hurt Lord Croak. I think there's still reason to bring Slan, for sure. But Lord Croak is a pretty expensive piece. And you really want, one of the things you really want from him is that Celestial Deliverance spell. And now he can't really cast it. It's pretty rough. It's pretty difficult. I mean, I guess you could bring in a spell portal, just like Tzeentch does, right? Or some other armies do. So there's ways around it. So I don't want to be too down about it. But that's what the Oracle was your spell portal. If anything, I know that they thought that was there was some difficulty there, that people were just rushing in with the Oracle and casting 4 Celestial Deliverances on the same unit and just blowing it out of the water. I would rather have seen, if the Celestial Deliverance is already unique in that you can cast more than once, maybe you say it has to pick a different target each time.
I would say each time the casting value goes up by 1.
That's what they did in 2.0. Yeah, you could do something like that for sure. I mean, there's different things you could have done, but I just don't like what they chose. And unlike zombies, where they made the change, and I'm like, give me more zombies. I love zombies. I don't care that they made that change. Let's zombie it up. This change to Lord Croak really has me sort of rethinking whether or not I want to bring him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's still got value. He's not a terrible piece. But for his points and without that spell, I don't know. I don't know that I'm bringing Lord Croak anymore.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Seraphon change?
I think we might either see Seraphon.
Well, no. What do you think in our games?
Yeah.
Because who knows what I mean, there might be some weird, crazy build that somebody figures out that uses Croak, and it's like the best build in the meta, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's not worry about that. What about for us? How do you feel about it?
Goodbye, Croak.
Yeah, you're not a big Croak fan anymore?
Nope, he's going bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's really a shame. It's stuff like that. It's always a little bit disappointing because the change was made to stop the sort of broken tournament lists, whereas for us it was mostly fine, and yet the change is going to impact us just as much, right? It happens.
Yeah.
It's fine. In some ways, we've talked about this before, the changing rules are good because it gets you to sort of try different things and bring out different units, right? So, we can't complain too much, but rough one. All right, the last one I wanted to call out is the war clans, specifically the Auric war clans.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of the things that happened, they have man, every time they try to buff the Cruel Boys, they got rid of scare tactics and just made it a flat -1 to hit. They gave the Swamp Caller back its cast. They gave everybody 2 dirty tricks instead of 1. They just keep giving them buffs. They got a bunch of more point decreases, which we'll get to. But also, this time, one of the things that the War Clans has been struggling with, well, struggling might be a rough word, but one of the disadvantages they've had is in their book, they have their battle tactics, and then there's one battle tactic that only Ironjaws can do, one battle tactic that only Cruel Boys can do, and one battle tactic that only Bone Splitters can do.
And one battle tactic that requires...
I think there is a big Wah one, too.
And I believe one is... This might be a grand strategy, but something requires you to have a named... the Gob of Mork or Vistagork, and one requires Kragnos.
Yeah, one does require Kragnos. So basically, once you build your list, you really don't have that many battle tactics to choose, right? Every other army, you build your list, and then you basically have like 4 to 6 battle tactics to choose from your book, right?
Yeah.
Not Auric War Clans. Once you pick your sub-clan, you're basically locked into 1 or 2, right? And so they were forced to choose from the battle tome battle tactics and didn't really have a lot of access to book tactics. And since the book tactics in the game are pretty important at the tournament level, especially for armies where some armies have easier ones than others, they got a couple of extra ones. So the new Cruel Boys one, and they're still broken out by Cruel Boys and Iron Jaws, which are weird. The new Cruel Boys one is sneaking up or sneaky or sneak up or something like that. Everything's within 3 inches of a terrain feature. Nothing's in combat.
Good first turn one.
That seems, especially if you've got a lot of terrain on your board, that does seem like a good first turn one.
But this map, not gonna work.
Yeah, with no terrain on it, yeah, it'd be pretty tough. And then the other one is for the Iron Jaws, and it's called "This is our turf now," or "That's our turf," something like that. Very orky. But you have to have 2 units within 6 of the center of the board. So you just need to rush in, brah. It's sort of like the other Iron Jaws one, which is like, it's time to get stuck in or whatever. So that's cool. So I think that's good. I'm glad that they're going to have those additional opportunities. I'm not a huge lover of book tactics. I know Drake likes them a lot more.
Yeah.
But, to the extent that they're there, every army should have them. And that includes the War Clans. Although, interestingly, no additional special Bone Splitters one. Drake, do you think that means Bone Splitters are on their way out? That come 4.0, there's no more splitters?
No.
And maybe they'll break out Cruel Boys and Iron Jaws into their own tomes again.
No.
Or do you think that means they're about to get a big release as part of the Dawnbringers? So like maybe the second Dawnbringers book will have a huge Bone Splitters thing. So because they're going to get a whole new thing, they're like, we won't worry about their points and stuff right now.
Maybe that's
Which one do you think?
I think the latter, not the former.
I think the former. Why do you think the latter?
It just doesn't. They just got this battle tome and this whole thing about them. It doesn't make sense that they would show themselves.
I think they just got thrown into the battle tome with the Cruel Boys. They got no new models. They've basically forgotten. Except for one Underworld's Warband, there has never been a Bone Splitters model in AOS. And they just started up, or are just about to start up, the Old World. And one of the factions is Orcs and Goblins. And what are all those Orc models? Bone Splitters. I don't know, man. I think they're getting ready to shuffle them back off into the Old World. And I'm sort of here for it.
But what about the Goblins? Where are those guys coming from?
Night Goblins became Gits.
Yeah,
and regular Goblins never even made it into AOS.
They never survived the Old World.
Yep. So they're back in the Old World. But I'm sort of hoping it's that because I feel like I'm not a super fan of the way that they wrapped everything up into one book, because I feel like we lost a little bit of lore or a little bit of care and some TLC that could have gone to each faction.
That's what you wanted for dwarves.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's more possible for dwarves. So let's sort of come around to the other way on it. But yeah, I would like to see. It just seems to me that they're not going to give Bone Splitters a lot of attention, and so rather than stringing people along, just move them along. Just move them along. What I would really like to see is separate battle tomes for Iron Jaws and Cruel Boys. You could put them together, I guess, but they're so different. I don't know. Maybe they're not that much different than Gutbusters and Beastclaw, or than Coalesced and Starborn Seraphon. I mean, we do have some armies that have a weird divide like that.
I mean, all of Grotdom could be separated from the rest of them.
Yeah. And then what I would like to see is the rules for Big Wah. First of all, they should be a little bit different. But second of all, they should be in either the Orc Tome or the Iron Jaws Tome. And just say, hey, look, for whatever reason, Iron Jaws are able to whip everybody else in destruction together. And so if you play Iron Jaws, you can have a normal Iron Jaws army, or you can play Big Wah, where now you can bring in some ogres, and you can bring in some trolls, and you can bring in some gits, and all that sort of stuff, and have rules that make that viable, where it's almost like going back to Grand Alliance Destruction army. I think that would be pretty cool. All right, last things last, points changes. So most armies got points changes, not all of them, but most of them did, and a lot of armies saw reductions.
Yay!
So Idneth saw reductions across the board. Stormcast, bunch of units got reduced.
Like,
Annihilators,
yay!
Vindictors, Liberators. I'm sure some other ones. Those are just the ones that jumped out to me. But a couple of point increases. So Ogres are the most interesting one to me because Beastclaw Raiders went up in points, and my list is 1980. And that list went up by 30 points. So now I'm going to have to make a big change. I'm going to have to get rid of something. It's going to be a big hassle. But there's that. But on the Gutbuster side, tons of stuff went down. Iron Guts went down. Lead Belchers went down. Lots and lots of stuff. I would not be surprised if I'm able to get in another unit in our Gutbusters list. I mean, it was pretty good. So that's cool to see. And then with Gits, it was a mixed bag, and a lot of the stuff that we like to play went up.
What happened to Scragrot?
Scragrot went up again. He's 230 points now, I think.
Okay, that seems like Scragrot. Maybe a tiny bit more.
I think so. That's probably a good point value for him. I think the thing that's tough about Scragrot is that he still gets entire battle trait comes from the Bad Moon, right? And even though it's better, it's still a random roll, right? Well, Scragrot is basically the only thing in the game that can make sure you get your battle trait the way that you want it.
Yeah.
So he's almost sort of worth it at any price. But
2,000 points.
Yeah, 2,000. You just have Scragrot out there. He'll have the Bad Moon.
But it'll be like this overpowered, just super model.
So he went up. Every troll went up. So we're gonna have to look at our troll list now. Most, not all, but most squigs went up. Squig herd, squig hoppers, and bounders all went up.
My squigs!
Yeah. I don't think manglers went up, so at least you still have your manglers.
At least I have my manglers.
And then some other stuff went down. I think stabbers and shooters both went down.
The King's Gits.
I can't remember if Gobapalooza went up or down, but
I'd expect
there are some point reductions in Gits, but just not with trolls and not with very many squigs.
Sad. My trolls and squigs.
So that is the Battlescroll. Hopefully, I think overall, so judging everything as on an overall, not just looking at sad squigs, but judging everything on an overall, out of 5 stars, how many would you give this?
3.
That's interesting. I would say 3 as well. Why do you say 3?
It just doesn't seem like this Battlescroll, which usually has a lot of updates, had that many.
I think this is comparable to what we've had in the past. The reason I say 3 is some of the things like coherency and lookout, sir, which are the ones that are going to impact every army, I'm on board with. I think both of those are great changes. Really, really good. I know you don't like the lookout, sir one as much, but I think it's great. I'm in love with both of those. Then I think the unit changes are a little bit of a mixed bag, and the points changes, I don't know if I understand exactly why the points, because some things that seem really good, like Vindictors and Annihilators, are coming down in points.
I guess they just are not getting used.
Maybe. I don't know. So because of that, I don't think this one hits it out of the park. And especially, I would be tempted to give this 4 stars if Soul Blight got a little bit more of a nerf. Yeah. I really feel like it's still just going to be very... I mean, I shouldn't say because we should play it first before we decide. But it seems like it's still going to be pretty oppressive. So with those sort of caveats, I don't think I can give it a 4 or a 5. But I think overall, this is a positive. If I lump it all together, I think there's more positive than negative here. So I'm willing to give it the 3. All right, well... Definitely let us know what you think of the Battlescroll, if this is going to change any of the armies you play. If you're excited to get more units in because you've been using a lot of these Stormcast guys. If you're bummed that your troll list is now going to...
Oh, I got to check my trolls.
It's now going to require some reworking.
Uh-oh.
Let us know.
My trolls.
This has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
Thanks so much for watching.